Now that Computex has finally come, we've been starting to get some information, mostly from AMD at this point, about their third generation Ryzen CPUs and also the RX 5000 series. Okay, so what exactly am I talking about? Well, first, I think it would be kind of more appropriate to talk first about the third gen Ryzen CPUs, mostly because basically all these leaks of like the 6-core Ryzen 3s are not true whatsoever. The Ryzen 5 line is going to stick with 6 cores, 12 threads. The Ryzen 3 line is going to stick with 4 cores as they have been for the past two generations. And then the Ryzen 7s are going to stick with 8 cores, 16 threads. And then the new Ryzen 9 chips are going to have 12 cores and 24 threads, which I think is kind of interesting. But at the same time, 16 cores on the consumer level AM4 sockets still isn't a thing. Those are still going to be reserved for the higher end EPYC CPUs, especially now that they killed off the Threadripper. So really my personal take on all this is that it's pretty much exactly what I expected. I wasn't expecting these 16-core Ryzen 7s or these 20-core Ryzen 9s or these 6-core Ryzen 3s just because from an economic standpoint, you just can't do that. You can't sell a Ryzen 5 for like $100. That's essentially what people were saying they'd be doing with the Ryzen 3 line now. But the nice thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be apparently getting 1.25 increase in just IPCs and raw performance per core, which, I mean, that's good. But at the same time, you're going to still be behind Intel by a significant margin, but we'll really just have to wait and see because honestly, I'm thinking about switching to Ryzen because Intel cores are just not doing it for me anymore. Okay, so the next thing that I really wanted to talk about was the new RX 5000 line of graphics cards. But the thing that I find actually kind of exciting about these new cards is that they're ditching the GCN architecture that they've had basically since the HD series of cards released back in like 2008. Now, GCN is what Vega was built on, that's what Polaris was built on. Basically, AMD has just been sort of optimizing this architecture and optimizing it for smaller production nodes, and that's basically how they've been getting more performance out of chips that are basically identical. Especially with like the Radeon 7, they were able to extract quite a bit more performance out of the chip when it was basically a Vega 64 but cut down a little bit. They basically just increased the clocks and that's how you get more performance. But apparently they are now ditching GCN and they are developing the RDNA microarchitecture, which is what's going to be powering Navi. Now, we didn't really hear much about it, but based on the information we did get, the RX 5700 is actually supposed to be on par, if not slightly better than the RTX 2070, which I'm not too sure if that's actually going to happen, but if that is true, and if we do see a nice jump in performance with the RX 5800 to something around like ballpark RTX 2080 range, I think these cards could actually be incredibly successful, and I think that these cards could be killer GPUs. But the one thing that we didn't really get is we didn't get hard pricing figures. These new cards are supposed to be releasing either in July or later in the month, depending on what model of the card. But really, we just don't have that much information on these cards. We basically know that they exist and we know that they're going to have hardware accelerated ray tracing. It's basically AMD's version of Turing from NVIDIA, but we don't have that much information to build on and we don't have that much information to go off of. If we had more information to go off of, I would really be getting excited for these cards, but we just don't know that much about them. If we had, like, for example, like RX 5800 benchmark figures, and we could compare, oh, this is how it stacks up to, like, for example, like the 1080 Ti or the RTX 2080, even the RTX 2070, I think that we would be able to get a much better picture of what exactly these cards are going to be, but we just don't know. We'll really have to wait and see. But to be perfectly honest, I'm really not expecting that much over, like, improvement over Vega with Navi, because basically all they're doing is they're just having an optimized 7 nanometer production process, and we don't really know any of the other specs about these cards. For all we know, the RX 5800 could be something that just completely kills the 2080 Ti. Now, realistically, that might not happen. It's probably not going to happen, but we just don't know. For all we know, the RX 5700 could just be an RTX 2060 replacement. We just don't know, but based on what AMD has shown us so far, I'm hopeful, but I'm also a little cautiously optimistic just because we just don't know. But that's basically all the news that we've gotten from AMD regarding Computex. Basically, we know that Ryzen 3000 series are coming. We've known for the past probably 6 months now that we've known they're coming. And then the RX 5000 series, we've basically known that they existed, but we didn't know like the naming or the performance tiers that they would be offering. But At least we know they're coming now and we know a time frame for when we can get there. So tell us what you guys think about the new AMD chips and the new AMD graphics cards. I'm personally really optimistic about this, but I'm also kind of reserved because Vega compared to Polaris wasn't really that big of a jump. But other than that, just tell us what you guys think. And if you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and click the bell icon so you'll be notified about all our future uploads. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.